everyone. Let's get started. Honorable President of CESRAN International, Professor Ken Booth, who joined us online. Dear Professor and friend Osgood Tufekci, Director of CESRAN International, dear colleagues, students, participants. On behalf of Autonomous University of Lisbon and its Research Center OBSERVARE, Observatory of Foreign Relations, let me begin by welcoming you all to our university and to the 10th Annual Conference on International Studies. I'd like to express our special gratitude and recognition to CESRAN, the Center for Strategic Research and Analysis, to which OBSERVARE WOW has once again teamed up to co-organize this conference. And of course, to all members of the organizing and scientific committees, our warm thanks for your competence and diligence. Let me also greet and thank to all the speakers who will present their papers, for sharing their insights, enriching us all with their contributive knowledge on different topics, as well as to the moderators of the various panels. And of course, thank all the participants for attending this conference in person here at WOW or online via Zoom, and for your contribution to the joint reflection on various topics on the contemporary world. Just like last year, this conference takes place in the context of the war in Ukraine and its many implications for Europe and the world. Russia's aggression against Ukraine represents a rupture in the post-Cold War era, whose geopolitical consequences are decisive for the future of the international system and the world order. One of its consequences is the end of the European peace dream and the beginning of a probably new world order. The second is the strengthened cohesion between NATO allies and between the United States and Europe. The third consequence is the changing geopolitical map of Europe and the change in the post-Cold War European security architecture. The demarcation line between Russia and Ukraine will define not only their common border, but also the border between Europe and Russia. Now, all areas of relations have been securitized. Russian aggression against Ukraine has been a transformative moment for the EU, forcing wrenching change on energy, economic, and security policy. European Union's decoupling from Russian oil and gas ends 50 years of connectivity and mutually beneficial energy relations. Sweden and Finland abandoned their historical neutrality to join NATO. And the new European political community was created, bringing together almost all European countries and excluding Russia and Belarus. Another consequence is the strengthening of strategic coordination between Putin's Russia and Xi Jinping's China. And in parallel, we have also the rise of the Atlantic Pacific, that is the expansion of geopolitical, geoeconomic, and security ties between the Euro-Atlantic area and the Asia-Pacific region. Russia's aggression and the war in Ukraine has also hit the world hard in terms of disruptive impact on food and fertilizer supplies, inflation, supply chains, and higher energy costs, affecting most regions of the globe, and especially the poorest and most vulnerable countries. And there is also the emergence of the so-called Global South as a geopolitical entity and as the target of major disputes over influence between the West and the Sino-Russian camp. Yes, no doubt, the war in Ukraine has divided the world, but not exactly between democracies and autocracies. International reality is, as always, far more complex and dynamic than simplistic narratives tend to portray. The war in Ukraine is, however, just one of several events with a major impact on contemporary international relations. In Africa, for example, we have seen successive coups d'etat in recent years. In Americas, we have polarized societies and there have been significant political changes in some countries. In the Middle East, we have improved diplomatic relations between Iran and Saudi Arabia. Good news. But also worsening tensions in Palestine. In Asia, we have rising tension between India and China on border disputes and the threats from North Korea's nuclear and missile program. And in the midst of all these, we have also the worsening climate crisis and economic and social inequalities, the pressures from energy transition, new technologies, mass movements of migrants and refugees, risks of new pandemics, the multiplication of fragile states and internal and international conflicts, terrorism and transnational organized crime, and so on. There are many regional and global challenges, but there seem to be fewer and fewer institutions, rules, and collective solutions to solve them, or at least mitigate them. These and many other issues lead us to discuss how the world and major players have and can respond in tackling the global and common challenges. However, this is not the responsibility of political leaders and governments alone. It is also our responsibility as attentive observers of international dynamics and citizens who are directly affected by the state of the world in which we live. It is time to be innovative and ambitious in reframing and reimagining our world and in discussing solutions to address so many and so complex challenges. I'm sure that this conference will give an important contribution in this regard. So once again, on behalf of OBSERVARE and Autonomous University of Lisbon, our warm thanks to our partner CESRAN and to all speakers, moderators, and participants, wishing you all a very stimulating and productive conference. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor Luis Tomé. Good morning, all. Thank you for being here. Thank you for being with us. I'm pleased to welcome you to CESRAN2023, the 10th annual conference on international studies. I'm sure that if you have been following the conference series, you have noticed that the name of the conference has changed this year. Previously, it was called the International Conference on Eurasian Politics and Society. In fact, the idea of changing the name belongs to Professor Ken Booth, who is the honorary president of CESRAN International. And me and Professor Rahman Da were agreed on covering a broader area of the international relations discipline. When I look at the conference program, I surely confess that Ken made a timely and logical proposal to change the scope of the conference series. Speaking of whom, Ken Booth wouldn't make it here because of some health issues, but he is among us right now on Zoom. He thanks you to all those who are attending the conference in person here and local organizers whose support has made it possible. As the Director General of CESRAN International, I would like to mention that we are glad to have such a sincere partnership with UAL and OBSERVARE, and I believe that this year's conference reflects that sincerity. This year's conference covers a wide array of topics. There are about 75 participants and 55 presentations, a keynote speech, and in-conversation panel will be the Professor Stefan Wolf, and will be a book discussion panel will be moderated by Professor Rahman Da. The conference aims to bring together a range of academics and practitioners to discuss new directions of research and discovery on international studies. That's why I would like to emphasize that success of CESRAN2023 is a result of tremendous support and contribution from the academic staff of CESRAN International, UAL, OBSERVARE, and the rest of the partners. And also the conference couldn't have happened without the commitment of the organizing committee, who helped in many ways to organize this event. Professor Luis Tome and Professor Ana Isabel Javier from UAL, I'm grateful for your support. And of course, Professor Kambuz and Professor Rahman Da, my colleagues from CESRAN International, I'm sincerely proud to have a chance to work with you. Finally, we are also very grateful to the participants for helping us to put together this year's conference. Let me wish all participants to enjoy the conference. Hope to see you next year at CESRAN 2024. We don't know yet where we'll be, but soon we are going to say something about that. Thank you. Have a nice and fruitful conference.